Hello everyone, my name is Sammy Gay Jackson. Today's date is August 31st, 2025. Semester is fall. Class is Criminal Justice Technology. For part one of the assignment, I use the FBI Crime Data Explorer website. Figure 1 shows the homicide rate from May 2025 to August 2025 in various states per 100,000 people. Each state is represented by a color. For this graph, the three states I selected are the District of Columbia, Florida, and Georgia. Also, for comparison, the overall rate for the United States is included. That is seen right here, here, and here, and here in blue. The District of Columbia had the highest homicide rate compared to the other states, with the month of May peaking its highest at 2.56. It remained the same rate for June and July, 1.71, 1.71, before dropping to zero right here in August. The homicide rate for the District of Columbia is significantly high compared to the overall rate of the United States for each month except for August. If you can see, 2.56, 0.33, 1.7. In 1.7, you have 0.31 and 0.29, with the except of August, where you have 0.07 and 0 for that month. Florida, on the other hand, rate fluctuated, with June being the highest at 0.29 right here, May being the lowest at 0.2 right here, July falling in the middle at 0.12, which is right here, and the rate decreased by half in August at 0.06, which is right here. In comparison to the United States, Florida rate was significantly low in May, relatively the same in June, and less than half of the United States in July. The rate of 0.06 for August can be considered as high when comparing it to the overall rate of 0.087 in the United States. This is the overall rate for the United States, which is at 0.07, and this is just for Florida, and it's 0.06. That is considered high, or can be considered high based on the given rate. Georgia rates were relatively stable through the first 3 months, and like the District of Columbia, dropped to zero right here in August. The rate for Georgia remained close to that of the United States, except for August, when you had zero. Figure 2. Figure 2 is based on aggravated assaults. Figure 2 shows the aggravated assault rate from May to August 2025 from the beginning of the month in various states per 100,000 people. For this graph, the three states I selected are Alabama, Alaska, and Arizona. Also for comparison, the overall rate for the United States is included. Similar to the above graph, it's right here, 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 and here. Alaska has the highest rate in the month of May, which right here at 31.11. It rates continued to decrease until it dropped to zero in August, right here. The same can be said for Alabama and Arizona, as they both decreased each month. As the graph shows, Arizona is at a -1 in August, which is the lowest of all the states we have discussed so far. It is important to note that Arizona rates are lower than the overall rates for the United States for each month. If you look, you have Arizona, the United States rate right here, and it's at 21.02. Then you have the rate for Arizona, which is 17.4. The same can be said for June, which is 19.58, and then you have Arizona at 14.82. The United States rate again, you have 17.97, and then the rate right here is 8.15, and the same can be said For August, it's even at a negative. So you see that there's a trend of it decreasing. Also, based on observation, the United States rate is higher than Arizona in May, higher than Alaska and Arizona in June and July, but relatively close to Alabama, and higher than all three states in August. See? All three states in August. So if you look right here, it's higher than all three states in August. When I said it's relatively close to Alabama, this is what I mean. United States is 17.97, and then you have Alabama right here at 18.37. Even though Alabama is a bit higher, it's relatively close. Right. Overall, the rates are very important because they allow us to compare and identify threats over a specific period. Figure 1 and 2. With figure 1 and 2, I was able to identify which crime has a higher rate and compare it to that of the United States. All right. Let me read that again for clarification and just for flow. With figure 1 and 2, right? Both figures, both graphs. I was able to identify which crime has a higher rate and then compare it to that of the United States. So we have Alaska right here with a rate of 31.11, and I was able to compare it to that of the United States, which is at 21.02. And you can say that Alaska, right, has a higher rate of aggravated assault in comparison to the rate of the United States, which is at 21.02. Right. We are at part 2. For part 2 of the assignment, I use the CDC WISCAR fatal and non-fatal reports website. Table 1 with filters. The death is all intent by suffocation. Year is 2023. Country is United States. All ages, all sexes, all races, all ethnicities. In 2023, there were 9,364 deaths for a male with a crude rate of 5.65, while for females, there were 2,659 deaths with a crude rate of 1.57. This shows that male deaths were significantly higher than females, even though the female population increased. As you can see here, the population increased for the females. However, but it still gave, a lesser crude rate. And the debt right here at 2,659 is also lower. For table 2, a debt is by suicide firearm. The year is 2023. Country is United States. All ages, all sexes, race is black, and all ethnicities. For this table, it is obvious that suicide rate for black male is significantly higher than black females. Male deaths are 2,086 with a crude rate of 9.48, while female deaths are 299 with a crude rate of 1.26. It is safe to say that male commits suicide more in the United States per 100,000 people. As you can see, female that commit suicide by firearm is at 299, which is significantly lower than males, um, which is at a 2,086, and the crude rate is also high. So even if, dependent on just the figures, that can be misleading, the crude rate when calculated is significantly high. I believe it's 8 times higher than females, right? When it comes to blacks, females in the United States. Table 3. Table 3 is death by legal intervention, specifically firearms. The year is 2023. United States, all ages, all sexes, all races, all ethnicities. Legal intervention refers to deaths that are a result of law enforcement officers, etc. Based on this figure, there are more male deaths in comparisons to female deaths by legal intervention. The population increased, as you can see right here. However, the death amount remains significantly low. It is important to note that this is the lowest death and crude rate out of all the tables in part two of this assignment. As you can see right here, male death is at 577 and female death is at 27, even though the population increased. With that being said, the crude rate is also great. Um, is significantly low for females in comparison to males, which is at 0.35. Again, the overall crude rate, even with that, the overall crude rate is 0.18, which is, still low. Table 4. That is violence related by fire or burn. The year is 2023. Country is United States. All ages, all sexes, all races, all ethnicities. Violence that's caused by firearm or burn is at 4,848, while female deaths are 1,895 per 100,000 people. The number of male deaths per the given population resulted in high crude rate of 43.64, which is significantly high compared to the crude rate of 16.48 for females. This shows that males are more likely to die from violence associated with fire or burn. Table 5. Death is by unintentional poison. Year is 2023. State is Florida. All ages, all sexes, all races, all ethnicities. Unintentional poison that resulted in death numbers are low for both male and female with the given population. As you can see, male deaths is at 184 and female deaths is at 104. As such, the crude rate individually and overall, individually for males you have 0.11, for females you have 0.06, and overall 0.09 is low. Based on the population, it shows that this type of death is less likely to happen in Florida. Remember, this graph, unlike the other graphs above, is only, table is only for Florida. Using only numbers for deaths would be misleading to the viewer because they reflect the population size and not the risk, as explained earlier or in with this with table 5. Rates are calculated not only by population size, right? And they show that an increase or decrease affects the overall result. Rates help to determine whether a death is likely to happen based on a given factor. Factors can be the year, the state, the country, the age, the sex, the race, and the ethnicity. With numbers alone, one can assume that a death is higher without knowing the likelihood. For example, suicide by firearm rate for black people shows that men are 8 times likely to die in comparison to women, as I had mentioned earlier. So it shows the likelihood, right? So you have here, if we for use let's use table 5 as an example. Males, the deaths we have 184, and then females we have 104. One can say, it's not that high, or we can say male is higher, but the crude rate itself explains the likelihood of it happen out of everything. Okay. All right, the YouTube link, that is it for the assignment. The YouTube link will be added here once posted. Thank you everyone for watching. How do I do this?